There were protesters right behind me. You can still see a couple of them over there, but a lot of them have actually moved down the street a little ways that way. We're kind of trying to pan for you. This tree is a perfect example of the damage that an emerald ash borer can do. Dead tree branches are a telltale sign that your tree is infected, as are these green stalks. Now, another way that you can tell are these small D-shaped holes. This is where the bug comes out of. And the city of Davenport says the best solution to this problem is simply cutting down all of these ash trees. There are a lot of people at the Scott County Administrative Building right now waiting in line to cast their vote. We have asked several people what's happening, and all they can tell us is that they have voted. You can see all the rust on these two tanks right here, and these are just 2 of the 3 tanks that provide water to the entire zoo. But all of those fans, if you take a look behind me, you can see are heading out right now. There is a sigh of relief spreading through Cordova and the surrounding towns tonight. You can see off in the distance behind me, that is the Quad Cities Exelon plant. Dozens of teachers are inside this building right now hearing a tentative agreement bargained last night. It happened during a nearly 2.5-hour meeting between representatives of East Moline School Board and EMEA. As you can see behind us here, we've got hundreds of people out enjoying a Thanksgiving meal. Down the road here around 3 or 4 between about 3 and 4 this morning, there was a car that did get stuck in flood waters. That jam session is set to begin in just under an hour right here inside the River Music Experience building. Disposing of it is pretty easy. If you come here to American Legion Post 26, it's as easy as putting right in this box. They're looking for anything from bottles to rocks to even big sticks like this, and all of it is really difficult to find through that muddy water. Now, election judges tell me that we've had about 600 people come through this polling site. Now, this is a polling site for districts 4, 6, 7, and 8. Sharon, before Trump got downtown, dozens lined 3rd Street in front of the Adler Theater. Some were supporters, but most were protesting. One group tells me they wanted to get a message across to the unconventional candidate.
Build the dream, not the wall.
These protesters with the Quad Cities League of United Latin American Citizens says their message to Donald Trump is simple.
I ask people to come out and take a stand against hate.
Maria Bribiesco is the Iowa Deputy Director of LULAC. She says her group is not necessarily against Trump.
He actually says some good things, like, for instance, that he wants to, he's against TPP.
For LULAC, it's all about his language.
We're here to protest the hate speech that is being used by the candidate. And we're going to ask him to consider being a leader and use positive language rather than negative language.
Holding up signs that read "Love Trump's hate" and "Watch your language, children are listening," the group joined dozens of others outside the Adler.
I am not a Hillary supporter, but I am an American, and I feel it's my job to be here right now, letting people know that this is not our guy.
We're here to express our disdain for Republican candidate Donald Trump.
Of course, not everyone was there to protest the candidate.
I mostly support. I mean, he's so close to us. I mean, I live right across the bridge, so it's cool to have him here in the Quad Cities and come give him your full support. Despite both sides voicing their opinions, the scene outside the Adler remained peaceful.
Folks down here have been very supportive. We've had a few folks that have come by with some less than supportive things to say, and we just tell them to have a nice day.
Gary, it's not Wrigley and it's not Chicago, but tonight as some in the Windy City empty their pockets to enjoy the World Series, one Cubs fan traveled here to the QCA for what she says is the ultimate Cubs World Series experience.
I didn't think that I would ever see the day.
It's a day 97-year-old Marion Moore has been waiting for decades.
I've always been a Cub fan as long as I can remember.
And now that the Cubs are finally seeing their World Series spotlight,
Hooray, Cubs.
Moore is happy he can share his joy with someone close to his heart.
And of course, when Jan comes out from Chicago, just especially to be here so we can enjoy a Cub game tonight.
The East Moline man's daughter, Janice Bouchard, has been a Chicagoan for 3 decades. But this weekend, she's cheering on the Cubs from right here in the QCA.
It's a father and daughter moment that I may never get again, and I'm not going to miss it.
Bouchard says she drives to the Quad Cities to visit her dad often. And with a Cubs World Series weekend unfolding, there's no one else she'd rather share the experience with.
I wish I could have him there today for this game, but I'm so grateful that I can sit next to him and watch it.
And despite being more than 150 miles from Wrigley, Bouchard says she's feeling plenty of Chicago spirit.
I brought the Chicago Tribune to show him today how excited our city is, and I see it's translated here tremendously.
Now the two are looking forward to a weekend full of memories they couldn't get back in the Windy City.
What could be better than watching the World Series with my 97-year-old dad?
The kids have it wherever they go. I mean, everybody does.
In a technology-driven world,
I go on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat.
it's difficult for some to stay off their phones.
You have to have your smartphone on you. I mean, if you don't, you're like, you're not onto the web or the internet or anything. You're totally lost.
Under current Iowa law, any driver under 18 is banned from using cell phones. But Davenport teens say that doesn't stop some from doing it anyway.
It's the culture nowadays. I mean, multitasking is becoming a big thing.
The Iowa Senate is discussing making texting and driving a primary offense for all drivers, meaning an officer can pull you over if they catch you in the act.
You're going to see people continuously on their phone.
Owner of 4A Driving, Steve Verdon, isn't convinced a stricter law will make a difference.
We can put all the laws in the book, but back to the education.
And teens who are already under a stricter law agree.
It's one of those things, you put something in place and it's going to shut down for a little bit and then it's going to rise back up again.
Verdon says that's why he focuses on trying to change the constant need for a device.
These kids they live with it. And we try to separate it.
Verdon says he doesn't allow students to have cell phones on them if they're in the driver's seat.
There's no temptation, there's no vibration, there's no messages, there's no notifications coming.
He also separates students from their phones when a guest speaker comes in, many often there to talk about the dangers of cell phones and driving.
We have 4 different lecturers come in and they all talk about it.
This as laws and curriculum catch up to a world some say is dominated by a handheld device.
People probably don't even think that they're on their phone because it's like attached to them.